Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Accountable Podcast, where we are making accountability fun so you can achieve your goals and feel great doing it. And today we're talking about excuses. Now, most people think that you should feel ashamed when you're making excuses, but I actually see them as a sign to reevaluate what we're striving for because they only come up when something is off. So after listening to this episode, I want you to be able to reframe this concept of excuses and know the difference between reasons and excuses and exactly how to navigate them so you can continue to make progress even when you're thrown off your plan and actually achieve the goals that you want to achieve. So the reality is we all have reasons that we're thrown off. And this is a tough love kind of an episode, but I also am sharing it in the most non-judgmental way and most grace-filled way possible because I really have no judgment when it comes to this topic. So when I work with clients and I can tell there's an excuse happening, a reason has become an excuse, it's not like I look at them and I'm judging them in any way, shape, or form. I actually see it as, okay, we have an opportunity to do a check-in because something is off. Because we don't make excuses when things are awesome. We don't make excuses when we're excited about the process. We make excuses when things are hard and we're really challenged. So it's a great checkpoint. So I want you to start to see it as an opportunity. And I promise you, I'm going to give you all of the tools in this episode, but I really want to challenge that. If you feel like I'm making excuses and you're kind of like making the faces of like, oh, feeling bad or cringing, like let's see them as opportunities. We need to acknowledge them, but let's see it as an opportunity to check in and see if we're on the right path. So first I want to talk about reasons and excuses because we all have reasons. When we come up with a plan, so we've got this goal hanging out there, maybe we've got a milestone that we're really focused on, and something throws us off our plan. We've created the plan. We're super pumped about the plan. It was color-coded, beautiful, awesome. We thought it was going to be perfect for us, right? Something throws us off. It doesn't matter what it is. That is a reason. We all have reasons. The reasons are real. I'm not saying you're not thrown off your plan. It's very important because I think when I talk about this sometimes, people will also often say, but Amanda, this happened or this happened. And I get it. We all have reasons. The problem is when it becomes an excuse. So a reason is a legitimate obstacle that hindered your progress. Kid got sick. You got sick. Someone's in the hospital. Natural disaster happens. I could go on and on. A legitimate obstacle that comes into play. An excuse is a justification for staying off track and not making progress. So something happened. That's the reason. When it lingers a little too long, we've got an excuse happening. That's what we have to look at. Another thing that really is a big factor when it comes to reasons versus excuses is that when you have a reason that something has thrown you off, it acknowledges a barrier and you seek a solution. If all of a sudden you're like, well, this happened, and you're not seeking a solution, you're creeping into excuse territory. You're tiptoeing in there and you're real close to it. Again, it's an opportunity. It's not to feel shameful. This is not what we're here for. That is not helpful for anyone. It's not helpful for you. We want to see it as an opportunity and see it as a check-in, right? And because this is kind of a sensitive topic, I wanted to talk about only myself in this episode. So I'm not giving any client examples. I'm going to only focus on myself with this. And so when I started my business in 2017, and what has happened that has thrown me off my course of action over the last handful of years. And I thought about, I'm sure there's more than this, but like I've gotten sick. My husband's gotten sick. My stepkids have gotten sick. All of that impacts my schedule. I've had family members in the hospital at different times. I became a caregiver. My husband and I moved his dad into our home for a period of time, and that changed our schedule dramatically, right? We wouldn't change that for the world, but it changed our schedule. It threw us off our plan, both of us, not just me. We have navigated mental health challenges with family members several times in the last handful of years. And I've had my two stepbrothers pass away. One was in 2020, one was in 2023. That's a big shift for me when I navigated those things. And I've also personally had two cancer scares in these years that I've had countless doctor's appointments, because as soon as that word, that C word comes up, it is like, get me into every doctor you can. I'll do anything. I shift my calendar, right? All of those are reasons that I was thrown off my plan. But don't let me fool you, my friend. Your girl has had lots of excuses too. So while those were all legitimate reasons, I've also hardcore crept into excuse territory with a handful of things. I need more time. I need more time to focus on that. I need more time to start that. I need to be able to do this before I can do this. I need more research. I need to do more market research. I need to Google this one more time. I need to listen to 3 more podcast episodes before I can make that decision. I've gotten caught in it. You have too. I'm just calling myself out. I need another plan. That plan didn't work. I need another plan. As soon as one is thrown off, I think I need another plan. Raise your hand if you're with me, because please don't let me be alone in this, right? We often think we need another plan for something because the one just got real hard. The energy and the effort got real hard, and we're like, oh, it's got to be easy. It should be easy. I just need a new plan, a new strategy. I need to go to that next webinar that I saw, and that's the new plan. Or, oh, I just heard this on a podcast episode. That's what I should do. New plan. Gets me every time. I have to really catch myself with that one. I need to work on something before it's ready. If you're listening on the podcast, I did air quotes around ready. Done is better than perfect is the motto I use now. Every client is like, yes, you say that all the time. Because I do. Because if I stayed in that mentality of wanting it to be ready, I would never do anything. This podcast episode wouldn't go live because I guarantee you I'm going to stumble across my words, or my facial expressions are going to be weird on the video, or whatever. My dog could bark at some point. It's not perfect, right? But it's giving you the information that you can take action with. So done is better than perfect. I've learned this, but it has been an excuse that stopped me many, many times. I don't feel like it is a big one. It is a huge excuse. Now, here's the thing. I will say this. I don't feel like it is a reason, 100% a reason. It's what you do with it that then puts you in the category of excuse. I'm raising my hand saying it was a hardcore excuse for me. I don't feel like doing that right now. And really specifically, it was with my first podcast. So my first podcast was The Unapologetic Entrepreneur, and it had 264 episodes. Okay. Huge accomplishment. I love it. Early on though, when I was back at the beginning, I didn't have the process that I have now. What happened was I didn't feel like recording one day, but I had to. I had put myself on such a time crunch that I had to record in order to stay consistent. That then was the first time I recognized it as an opportunity. It had become an excuse many times before. This time I turned it into a reason and did not let it become an excuse, because I saw it as an opportunity, and I realized in that moment I never need to put myself in this timeline again because it was too close. I didn't like it. And so now I have multiple podcast episodes already ready so that I'm not on that time frame. And if I wake up one day and I'm supposed to record an episode or two and I don't feel like it, I've got some wiggle room. So what I did was I took it as an opportunity and created a better process for it. And I'm telling you this because I don't want you to get in the trap of thinking that excuses are bad and they're going to take your business down or take your goal down. No, see it as an opportunity and change the way you're looking at it. Figure out how to make it better. And so we have to just give ourselves that grace of understanding what is an excuse and how we can navigate it. So let's talk about some questions, because I was like, maybe for a lot of us, including myself, it's hard to recognize, is it a reason, is it excuse? Because there's a little bit of a line. I wish there was like a specific hard timeline or something where it's like, if it's been 3 hours, then it's an excuse, or if it's been 3 weeks, but it's not that. Sometimes a reason can throw you off for a while. And so you have to understand it's not only time. There's some other things in there. So I've come up with 4 questions that will really help you understand if something is a reason or an excuse. So question number 1 is, were you thrown off your plan, or did you just get distracted? I know, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to admit, but we have to be honest with ourselves. Because if you were thrown off your plan because you got sick, that's a reason. If you were thrown off your plan because when you sat down at your computer to write that email and you then decided to scroll Instagram, my friend, you got distracted. And we have to admit when we get distracted. And if you are distracted, it happens. But if you stay there, it becomes an excuse really quickly. And you can't let it linger. So really being honest with, did I just get distracted? Because if you got distracted, you can get back on track really fast. So when I notice I'm scrolling Instagram, when I told myself I was going to record a podcast episode, it's time to put the phone in the other room, right? I need to take control of the situation and actually do the thing that I told myself I was going to do. That makes me an accountable person. I'm an accountable person because I do what I say I'm going to do. Now, I've created processes in my life and in my business to give me some wiggle room with when the thing happens, but I do what I say I'm going to do. On this podcast, you can expect an episode every single week. I promise to deliver that, and I don't have to worry about not fulfilling that promise because I know if I get distracted, I can get back on track, and you can too. It's just noticing it and getting back on track. So let's say you're back on track. Question number 2, have you identified what's in and out of your control? So if you're going along, implementing on your plan, and you or your kid gets sick, or you didn't feel like writing, and you then deal with the priority. So the priority is your health or your family member's health, and you take care of it, and you've identified, okay, that was completely out of my control. I can't dictate when someone gets sick. That is out of your control. But, okay, that threw me off my plan. But you know what? I can get a babysitter for tomorrow, or I can take the next 3 days off and I will get back on track by Thursday, or whatever the case is. You've identified what's in your control and started to find that solution. So that really helps you understand, okay, that was a reason, but it's not an excuse. Now, if you don't feel like writing, again, or whatever it is, you don't feel like writing, you don't feel like recording the podcast episode, you don't feel like doing whatever it is you said on your list. If you don't feel like doing something, it is in your control if you continue to do that. I know it's hard, and I'm not telling you to do things in your life that you hate doing all the time, but there's always going to be things in our goal plan that are hard, that we don't feel like doing, but we know will get us to the end result we want. So you're going to have to move through that feeling of, I don't feel like doing it. Because when you do that, you'll actually achieve your goal. So if you want to really ask yourself, like, have I identified what's in my control and what's out of my control? When you've done that, you've done a really good job of keeping it a reason and not letting it slip to an excuse. Question number 3 is, have you tried to find a solution for the reason you were thrown off and how to get back on track? So just like I was talking about, if someone gets sick and you're like, okay, I can shuffle this around and I can do this and I can get back on track by this time. You're finding a solution, so you're not allowing it to become an excuse. It's staying in the reason bucket, which is fantastic. Same thing is like if you're trying to exercise more outside and there's bad weather. Well, you can still exercise inside. Have you figured it out? Have you done the thing? Have you tried to find a solution? If you're trying to find a solution, you are in good shape because it's a reason you were thrown off, but you're trying to find a way to get back on track. If you are just like, I couldn't do it because of this thing. I'm kind of like joking a little bit because I know it doesn't sound like that, or we would know it was an excuse. But we start to really be like, but it was this, but it was this, but it was this. When you start to think about, I'm going to say put the blame on, but that feels really harsh. But when we start to like throw other people, circumstances, or tools under the bus, that's when we know it's an excuse. And we're not trying to find a solution for it. And that's what we have to really watch out for. The other question, so the last question, number 4, is, do you feel defensive if someone says that you're off track because of an excuse? So, for instance, let's say you and I had coffee and you said, Amanda, I'm so excited. I am going to start that podcast. I'm ready. I'm going to do it. I'm so pumped for you, right? Yes, I can't wait to listen to it. This is going to be amazing. And so I check in with you a few months later because I haven't seen that podcast come out. I say, how are things going? And you're honest with me and you say all these things. And I said, well, I really believe that this was on your heart and it seemed like it was really exciting for you. Like, it feels like this is becoming a little bit of an excuse that you don't actually want to do it. If in that moment you don't feel defensive at all and you say, no, I really just don't feel like doing that anymore. I thought I did, but I really don't. And there's no defensiveness whatsoever. You're good. The reason threw you off and you actually identified, this is no longer for me. I no longer have that goal. And that's okay because goals change. But if I said that and you were like, but Amanda, you don't understand. This happened and then this, and you got defensive about it, chances are you started down the path of creating that podcast or doing whatever it is in your goal that you had set, your plan, and things got hard and very difficult, or you weren't seeing results fast enough. And you stopped and you allowed whatever the hard time or the results that you're not seeing to stop you, and you started to blame other things instead of saying, this is really hard and I need to keep going, or this is really hard and I don't want it anymore. Either way is fine. And that's what I'm here for in terms of this no judgment. Like, if you get to the hard part of achieving a goal and you're like, I don't want this anymore, please, for the love of everything holy, be honest with yourself and stop saying you want the goal. Stop saying it, because you're setting yourself up for feeling like a failure. You're setting yourself up for creating excuses and feeling like you haven't done something. Let it go. Let the goal go. Because I see this all the time. We can fall into it, whether we chose the goal that we thought we wanted or we chose a goal that someone else said we should want. And we go and we go and we go. But when it gets hard, that's when the excuses come out. So we use them. We need to use them as an opportunity and say, do I still want this? And that's the thing, is really understanding and asking yourself, do I still want this? And if you do, by all means, get the accountability support that you need. Tell someone, get the support to push through the hard, because on the other side of that hard is the goal. And you'll achieve it, but you have to get through the hard. And so you're going to have to get the support that you need, but you have to be honest about what you want. So with all of those questions, I asked those 4 questions. And let's say that you get to the point of understanding that you are making excuses for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. Remember, no shame, no guilt. You just realized that you have a piece of data that you can use. But here's what you have to do. Number 1 is you have to acknowledge that you're making excuses and you've recognized this. Okay, I am making excuses. Number 2, forgive yourself. You are not a bad person because you made an excuse. Now, you have to acknowledge it and say, I'm making excuses. I need to acknowledge the fact that I'm doing this. You won't have to tell anybody else. But acknowledge it to yourself and say, I did it. I'm going to learn from this. This is now an opportunity. And then move forward and take action. Now, sometimes moving forward means letting the dang goal go. If you are making excuses and you don't want it, I cannot emphasize this enough. Let it go. Let it go. I'm giving you the permission, not that you need mine, but let it go today. Let that goal go. Release it. Say, I no longer want to do that. I no longer want to pursue that in my life. My goals have changed and this is what I want. And then pursue that thing with all you've got. But you have to let it go and then pick another one. And then you have to move through and know that it's going to be hard. And then catch yourself the next time you're making excuses. Acknowledge it, forgive yourself, and move on. Take action. Keep going. And so this is the accountable action that I want for you today. I want you to identify something you've been making an excuse about, and chances are you already know what it is, because it's really hitting you in the gut right now as I've been talking about excuses, and you're like, I know it. I know I've been making excuses about this thing. We all do it. I want you to acknowledge it. Forgive yourself. and then either let the goal go or take action and figure out what you need, what support you need when it comes to chasing and pursuing the goal that you really, truly care about. Because chances are you just need a little encouragement about how you can navigate the hard moments, because there's always going to be hard moments. Nothing that's worth it is going to be all roses and easy. But you have to acknowledge that it's going to be hard and then get the support that you need. I've had other episodes on this podcast about the 3 levels of accountability. And so that is one I would really highly recommend listening to, because when you know what level of accountability you need, whether it's personal, peer, or paid, you can then move through the hard things. You can move through that hard stuff and actually achieve your goals, which is exactly what you want. So my dear friend, I want you to take this action today. And remember, I believe in you in the moments that you don't believe in yourself. So please, my dear friend, keep going. You've got this. The dream that's on your heart, the goal that's on your heart is completely achievable by you. But until next time, keep going and being accountable.